I grew up in a town where life moved at a crawl, and everyone knew each other's business. My parents owned a modest hardware store that doubled as a meeting place for locals. My father taught me hard work was everything, while my mother believed kindness mattered just as much, even when life didn't go our way. They were different in many ways, yet they functioned as a team, something I always admired and hoped to have one day. In high school, I was the quiet kid who preferred books over people. My first love was Samantha, a girl whose laugh could brighten a room and whose paintings captured the world in ways I never could. We dreamed of a future together, but she left for art school and I stayed behind, bound by a sense of duty to my parents. College was a blur of classes and part-time jobs. That's where I met Jasmine, sharp, ambitious, and magnetic. She had big dreams and an energy that made the impossible seem within reach. We fell fast and hard, marrying soon after graduation, convinced love alone could sustain us. At first, it did. Late-night talks, spontaneous weekend trips, and the feeling that we could conquer the world together. But reality crept in. My job as a traveling technician drained me, while Jasmine's journalism career thrived. She had more energy for work, less for us. Resentment built, words went unsaid, and the distance between us grew. By the time she asked for a divorce, it barely felt like a shock. I sat in my recliner, numb, watching her walk out the door. My wife of 6 years, soon to be my ex-wife. My emotions felt distant, as if they belonged to someone else. That morning, she delivered the news bluntly, giving me no time to process it. She had texted earlier, telling me to be home by 6 because we needed to talk. That phrase alone set off alarms. When I arrived to find no dinner, I knew something was off. Jasmine didn't waste time. "Sit down. We need to talk," she said, her tone flat. She was direct. "When we got married, I thought we'd have a good life. But these last 4 years have shown me that's not happening. You're never home. And when you are, you don't even seem to care about me." I tried to explain. "I work long hours to pay the bills. You work too, but it's not enough." She scoffed. "That's not the only problem. You insisted on having a backyard, yet you don't even take care of it." "Then hire someone," I suggested. "We could use that time to go out more." "With what money?" She snapped. "I'm tired of waiting for things to change. I want excitement. And you don't give me that. I'm done." "So, a divorce?" I asked, my voice steadier than I expected. "Yes. 6 months, and we'll both be free." "Who's paying for it?" "I will." I nodded. "Fair enough. Do it." She grabbed her coat, hesitated for a second as if she had more to say, then left. I sat there, staring at the empty space where she had stood. Would I miss her? Maybe. She was selfish and demanding, but at least she was something to come home to. Did I still love her? I wasn't sure. The fact that neither of us mentioned love once in that entire conversation said it all. Later that night, I drove to Trevor Bar. I hadn't been there in weeks, and though Jasmine's words still stung, I knew I'd get over it. Instead of my usual cheap beer, I grabbed a $5 scratch-off ticket and a couple of lottery tickets. Trevor smirked as I paid. "Cheap fool," he teased. "You'll never win big with those scratch-offs." "Let the machine pick," I muttered. "It's smarter than me anyway." I grabbed some peanuts and motioned for the waitress to bring my beer to a booth, another ridiculous rule, not letting me carry it myself. Dylan and Sophia Parker joined me. We talked, had another beer, and eventually, my stomach reminded me I needed real food. I left for a steakhouse, ordered the smallest steak, and had another beer with my meal. No dessert, just one last drink. I was hitting my limit. I'd have to drive carefully. Home wasn't home anymore. Just an empty house. Unless Jasmine changed her mind. But from the way she walked out, I doubted that. Maybe she went to her sister's. Laura had always been more reasonable than Jasmine. She wouldn't have treated me like this. Not that it mattered. I was getting sentimental, and that was dangerous. Time to go home and sleep this off. Once home, I barely paused before heading to my bedroom. The scratch-off ticket sat in my wallet. On impulse, I pulled it out and started scratching. 3 cows, $10, 000. My hands trembled. Another cow, $15, 000. One more, $25,000. I let out a sharp laugh, the sound bouncing off the empty walls. "Take that, Jasmine." She could pay for her own divorce. Still grinning, I locked the bedroom door and went to bed. If she came back, she could sleep in the spare room. The ticket would keep me company. By morning, the house felt emptier than ever until I remembered the winnings. That changed everything. I needed to keep it safe. As soon as the bank opened, I rented a safe deposit box and placed the ticket inside, along with my lottery numbers. Just in case. I copied the numbers onto a scrap of paper, tucking it into my wallet. Maybe my luck wasn't done yet. Would this money change my life? Probably not overnight. At work, I prepped for my 2 p.m. flight. Back home at noon to shower and shave, I noticed Jasmine hadn't returned. Feeling a twinge of concern, I called Laura. "She's here," Laura said curtly. "Talk some sense into her." Jasmine took the phone, her voice distant and cold. "What do you want, Nathan?" "We're done." "You didn't mention you were leaving this soon," I said, trying to keep my tone neutral. "Well, I have," she replied flatly. "I won't be back." "When are you coming for your stuff?" I pressed. "Tomorrow? The weekend? Are you planning to take the house too?" "There's still a big mortgage." "You can keep it if you cover the payments," she said without hesitation. "I just need a list of assets for my lawyer. I don't care about much. I just want to move on." "Fine," I sighed. "Send the papers, and I'll sign. But I still think you're making a mistake. We could have worked this out." "No, Nathan," she said, voice firm. "I fell out of love. I need to start over. Is there someone else?" The question slipped out before I could stop it. A pause. "No," she finally said, "but there might be before this is over. Please don't make this harder." I swallowed the lump in my throat. "If this is what you want, Jasmine, I won't stand in your way. Take care." With that, I packed my bag and headed for the airport. I'd be gone until Wednesday, plenty of time for her to clear out. Oddly enough, I trusted her to only take what was hers. The love was gone, but at least a shred of respect remained. Saturday morning, while fixing a copier, I remembered the state lottery drawing had been the night before. Over lunch, I checked the results. No winners. Maybe next time. I worked through the evening, grabbed dinner, and stopped for a beer. Too tired to wait for the Powerball results, I went to bed. The next day, while servicing another machine, I checked again. Nothing. By Wednesday morning, I was back home. Jasmine had taken what she wanted. The kitchen table was gone, but oddly, she left the stools. The house felt emptier, but not unbearably so. 2 envelopes sat on the counter. One held the divorce papers, the other a list of everything she had taken. I skimmed the list, feeling my jaw tighten when I realized she had emptied our entire bedroom. The king-sized bed, dressers, nightstands, even the damn lamps gone. Upstairs, the room was stripped bare. It stung a little, but at least now I knew what I was dealing with. In the guest room, my clothes were neatly folded into the dresser, my suits hung in the closet. On the nightstand sat a note from Jasmine. "Nathan, I hope this arrangement works. I moved into an apartment and didn't want to spend money on furniture. You might want a smaller bed now that you're alone. Honestly, I hope to find someone who will share mine and actually be there every night. The loneliness when you were away got to be too much. I know I didn't help with expenses, and maybe that wasn't fair. But I needed to save for this moment. If you think it's worth suing me, go ahead. I stopped touching our accounts 3 days before I told you I was leaving. That seemed fair. Laura thinks I'm making a mistake, but she has Mark and the kids to keep her grounded. We never had that. I could say I still love you, but I don't think I do. I'm fond of you, though. Jasmine." I set the note down and exhaled. She had planned this for a while. Downstairs, the kitchen was spotless, the fridge cleaned out. The divorce papers waited on the counter with a stamped return envelope. I signed them without hesitation and slipped them inside. Through the window, I saw the lawn needed mowing, the flower beds overgrown, and the sprinklers off. Jasmine always wanted the yard to look pristine, but the upkeep had fallen on me. One day, I'd rip out those flower beds and replace them with grass. A bigger mower would handle the rest. Not a day, though. That evening, I went out for dinner. Watching the couples around me, some wrapped in new love, others worn down by the weight of their years together, I wondered what kind of parents Jasmine and I might have been if we had started a family. Afterward, I stopped by Trevor Bar for a beer. On impulse, I grabbed some scratch-offs and fresh lottery numbers. "Suckers born every minute," Trevor teased as he rang me up. "Maybe," I admitted, "but you still sell them." We sat down, and I filled him in on the divorce. Trevor had known me since I was a teenager, though Jasmine had never warmed to him. "So, what's next?" he asked, leaning forward. "No plans," I admitted. "I've got work to do on the house, but selling it might be smarter. With the mortgage, though, I wouldn't get much." "You need a roommate," he suggested. "Someone to split the expenses." I scoffed. I don't know if I could trust someone like that. I trusted Jasmine, and look where that got me. "Still, she's being fair," I admitted. "She's not trying to screw me over." Trevor studied me. "Do you still love her?" I shook my head. Not really. It's just an inconvenience more than anything. Other customers arrived, and the conversation ended. I went home and went to bed. The next morning, I finally mowed the lawn but ignored the flower beds. The neighbors chatted as if nothing had changed, not even mentioning Jasmine. Maybe they didn't know. Maybe they didn't care. Later that day, I went back to Trevor for another Powerball ticket. Still no winners, he said. The prize is getting serious. Same numbers. One scratch ticket, I said, scratching it right there at the counter. $10. You ahead on these yet? Trevor asked, smirking. Actually, I am, I replied. But I'm waiting until the divorce is final before I let anyone know how far ahead I really am. Jasmine wouldn't cause trouble, but why take the risk? Friday and Saturday came and went with no lottery wins. By Sunday, I replaced my old tickets with new ones. The house was already starting to gather dust, the air turning stale. Could I live with it? For now, I didn't have much of a choice. That evening, I made sure nothing in the fridge would spoil while I was away. Around 8, Laura called. How's it going, Nathan? Not bad, I said. Bit more work around here, but I'm managing. She's doing well, Laura said, not needing to clarify she meant Jasmine. Goes out with coworkers a lot. Likes her apartment, though the expenses are higher than she expected. She'll adjust, I replied, keeping my voice neutral. I think she went on a date, Laura added casually. Nothing serious, but she's still waking up alone, which, let's be honest, was always her biggest complaint when you were around. That'll change eventually, I muttered. I just hope she doesn't settle for less than she deserves. Typical Nathan, Laura teased. Too nice for your own good. Thanks, Laura. Love you too, I said with a chuckle. Say hi to Mark for me. Maybe he can sneak out for a beer sometime. Come by and see the kids. They miss you, she said warmly. And don't forget, bread and beer for chop suey on Thursday. Deal? I said, laughing. Monday morning, I flew out for work. By Tuesday, the state lottery had been won. Not by me. The Powerball jackpot had climbed past $150 million. Trevor would be happy to keep selling me tickets anyway. Thursday evening, I had dinner with Laura's family. Jasmine was there, and we exchanged polite updates. Her kids were thrilled to see me, making me promise to visit more often. As I was leaving, Jasmine walked me to my car. How are you holding up? She asked. I know leaving was a shock. It was, I admitted. But I get it. If what you felt wasn't enough to wait for me to be home more, then this was the right call. I miss you, but mostly for the little things, the dishes, the small routines we had. Those things can be replaced in time. Happiness comes and goes. I'm just waiting to see what's next. She smiled faintly. Thanks, Nathan. I was afraid I hurt you too much. I even considered inviting you over if I had. That's unnecessary, I said. I'll be fine. Good, she replied. I'm glad we talked. I think we can both move forward more comfortably now. I kissed her cheek, got in my car, and didn't look back. Later, at Trevor Bar, I bought more lottery tickets and prepared for another day of yard work. The next morning, Trevor called. Nathan, you said you needed a housekeeper, he said. I found one. She'll be there tomorrow night if you're okay with it. Trevor, I'm managing fine, I said, brushing it off. She's had bad luck, Trevor continued. A war widow with 2 kids. She's being evicted next week. She needs a break. How old is she? I asked, curiosity creeping in. 25, he replied. Used to be cheerful, but life's been rough. Husband died in the service. Her parents are barely scraping by. She just needs a chance. I sighed, feeling the weight of it. Why is this my responsibility? Because it's a win-win, Trevor said. Trust me. Fine, I relented. I'll talk to her. What's her name? Mia Bennett. She'll be there at 6. Maybe take her to dinner, Trevor suggested. Don't push it, I groaned. I returned to my empty house, pushing thoughts of the woman I was about to meet aside. I imagined her as petite, maybe 5'3", slightly curvy, the kind of woman who had once been full of life but had been worn down by struggle. That evening, I arrived at Trevor Bar early. A few people came and went, but none matched the description in my head. Then, a tall woman, nearly my height at 5 feet 11 inches, walked in. Slim and graceful, she moved with an elegance that caught my attention. She spoke briefly to the bartender, her voice smooth and pleasant. Our eyes met a few times before she finally acknowledged me with a small smile. When's Trevor supposed to be here? She asked the bartender. He said he'd introduce me to someone. Trevor is running late, the bartender replied. Do you know their name? Nathan Cole, she said. Hearing this, I got up and walked over. Mia Bennett? She turned to me, polite but unreadable. That's me, she said. Let's grab a booth, I suggested, gesturing to the bartender. Bring my beer over and refill her glass. She followed me without hesitation. So, I started, once we were seated. Knowing Trevor, I bet his description of me was far from accurate. Mia laughed lightly. He said you were the most handsome man I'd ever meet. That your wife left you and you were heartbroken. And that my kids and I could save you from despair. Classic Trevor, I chuckled. Here's the truth. My wife did leave me, but I'm far from devastated. I just need help keeping the house in order. If you're in a tough spot, a live-in arrangement could work, but most of your compensation would be the living situation itself. And what did Trevor tell you about me? She asked. He said you were cute, recently single, and needed help around the house, I replied. Also mentioned you're a war widow with 2 kids and about to be evicted. Sounds exaggerated, she said, smirking. A little, I admitted. She leaned back, crossing her arms. I lost my husband, but I'm not destitute. I have insurance money. The city's tearing down my building for luxury apartments, so yes, I do need a place. My kids are 7 and 6, smart, well-behaved. A stable home would be great, but I'm not desperate. The city promised to relocate us. I glanced toward the bar, letting her words settle. I heard you tell the bartender you couldn't stay long because of your kids. That's right, she said. I promised them McDonald's tonight. It's a treat since I usually cook at home. I'm a decent cook myself, I admitted. She caught me glancing at her chest, her lips curving into a knowing smile. I don't have much of a figure, Mia said without hesitation, completely comfortable in her own skin. I eat a lot, but my metabolism keeps up. Cooking is my way of enjoying food without feeling guilty. You know what? I said, let's go to McDonald's. I haven't eaten yet, and I'd like to meet your kids. She hesitated for only a second before nodding. Sure, they'd love that. After dinner, I drove them to my house. As we walked up, Mia took in the yard, pausing to pluck a weed from the flower beds. You've got good bones here, she remarked. Just needs a little maintenance. I try, I admitted. But with work, I'm gone a lot, and it's hard to keep up. Inside, I showed her the bedrooms. If we move in, I'll need a full bed and a twin in the master, she said. My daughter shouldn't have to share a bed with me just because we're sharing a room. Ethan can take the spare. She hesitated, shifting her weight slightly. I already knew what was on her mind. You're wondering if this comes with expectations, I said bluntly. She looked relieved that I brought it up first. I'm not looking for anything physical, I assured her. I respect boundaries, and I expect the same in return. If we do this, it needs to be clear-cut from the start. All right, she said, exhaling. So I take care of the house, and you handle expenses, basically like how things were with your ex? More or less, I confirmed. I'll leave cash for small necessities and get you a credit card by the end of the week. If you cover anything, I'll reimburse you. This almost feels unfair, she admitted. But I'll cover half the groceries. The kids eat, and you're not always here. Sounds reasonable. She smirked. So, you're footing the bill and not even getting affection? That's a rare deal. All I need is respect, I said with a shrug. It's more than I got in my marriage. She nodded thoughtfully, then shifted the conversation. This is a weird setup for me. Let's talk about something else. Sure, I said, picking up my keys. Let's go check out your kids' beds. Want to make sure they're comfortable. Tinkerbell is Lily's nickname, Mia explained with a soft smile as we drove. She's got that kind of energy. I could see it. Her daughter had a natural charm, something effortless. Mia, on the other hand, carried a quiet strength, different but just as compelling. Later, I stopped by Trevor Bar. Give me a scratch ticket, I said. Let's see if Mia Bennett brings me luck. Trevor handed it over, but I slid it back. You scratch it. I bet you another ticket it's a winner. He rolled his eyes but did it anyway. $50 win. Shaking his head, he handed me a fresh one, honoring the bet. This time, nothing. You're a lucky bastard, Nathan, he muttered. Then, narrowing his eyes, he asked, So, did Mia move in, or what? I smirked. Trevor, you exaggerated plenty about me and about her. We compared notes. Yeah. But did she move in? I motioned toward a waiting customer. You've got business to handle. I walked out before he could press me further. By Sunday, I stopped in to grab new lottery tickets. Trevor wasn't around, so he still didn't know if Mia had made her decision. Monday, I left for a short trip. Instead of flying, I drove and returned by Wednesday evening. Pulling into my driveway, I spotted an old Camry parked outside. Mia must be here. Inside, the house smelled incredible. She was at the stove, pulling a Dutch oven off the burner. "Hey," she greeted casually. "Go wash up and grab us a beer." I called Trevor to ask what you drink. Genesee Light, right? Tried one myself, not bad, but a little sweet. The dining table was set with elegant floral dishes I didn't recognize. "Where did these come from?" I asked. She hesitated briefly. "Wedding gift," she admitted. "Never really used them. My husband's gone, and the meaning kind of went with him. But I figured, why not? They should be used for something, right?" She said it like it wasn't a big deal, but there was something in her voice, an old pain she didn't care to revisit. "They're nice," I said. "And the flowers?" "From the backyard," she said, a small smile touching her lips. "Thought they'd brighten up the place." "They do," I said, glancing around. "Smells amazing, by the way. Pot roast with onions, carrots, and potatoes," she said. "Dinner's almost ready. But don't start without us. We say grace before meals." "I like that," I said, nodding. The kids joined us, shy but polite. Halfway through dinner, Ethan glanced at the TV. "You have a huge screen," he said. "It is," I admitted. "I used to have a smaller one in the bedroom, but my ex took it when we split." "You have a wife?" Lily Tinkerbell asked, wide-eyed. "Lily," Mia chided gently. "That's not our business." "It's fine," I said. "Her name was Jasmine. We grew apart, and she left. She wanted me home more, but my work didn't allow it. Maybe you'll meet her one day." "Is she pretty?" Tinkerbell asked. "She is," I said honestly. "There's an album under the TV if you want to see." The kids eagerly flipped through the pictures, comparing Jasmine to their mom. "Who's this?" Lily asked, pointing at a picture. "That's my sister-in-law, Laura. Her family visits often, so you'll have playmates," I explained. "She's a great cook, too, like your mom." Jasmine wasn't much for cooking. "Tonight's dinner was one of the best I've had in a long time," I added. After dinner, I helped Mia clear the table while the kids settled in front of the TV. She glanced at me. "That was probably the nicest thing you could have said. Was your ex really that bad a cook?" I laughed. "She wasn't terrible. She just didn't enjoy it, so we ate out a lot." I gestured to the table. "But this was fantastic." "Thanks," she said softly, a rare smile appearing. "It's nice to feel like I'm actually good at something." She hesitated before adding, "Kids shouldn't think someone else is prettier or better than their mom." "I won't lie, Jasmine was beautiful," I admitted. "But beauty isn't everything." Mia looked at me curiously. "Do you really believe that?" "I do," I said firmly. "Dated a girl in high school who wasn't conventionally attractive, but she was one of the smartest, kindest people I knew. Her husband's lucky he got a real gem." Mia smiled. "I'm learning new things about you." "Let's sit on the patio," I suggested. Later, exhausted from travel, I tried watching a crime show but ended up falling asleep halfway through. Heading to bed, I stretched out on fresh sheets for the first time in weeks, enjoying the simple comfort. The next morning, I took Mia and the kids downtown. At the bank, I added her name to my credit card. The limit was $11,000, not extravagant, but enough to cover emergencies. I always manage my money carefully, never carrying a balance. Outside, Mia glanced at me. I slightly narrowed. "Why did you do that?" "I expected a $700 limit, not this. If the basement floods, the furnace dies, or you need a motel while I'm away, I don't want you stranded," I said. "This is my house, and I'm responsible for everything in it, including you and the kids." I softened my tone. "That said, I hope we don't need the full limit. Funds are tied until my next job bonus, but this card gives us flexibility." She studied me. "Was Jasmine's name on your card?" "No," I admitted. "She had her own for emergencies, but barely used it. I paid all the bills anyway, so things were easier to manage when she left." Mia didn't respond, just gave me a small smile. I worked that afternoon, but Friday would be a full day off. By then, I figured we'd all feel completely settled, Mia, Ethan, Lily, and me. "Tomorrow evening, I'd like to meet your parents," I told her. "Maybe leave the kids with them for a bit, and let Trevor know we're officially living together." She smirked. "My parents will want to know how you're treating their grandkids." "Guess I'll have to behave then." "You're already doing fine," she said. "Kids trust easily, and so do I. You'd have to work hard to lose that." Later, we stopped by Trevor Bar. "Christ, Nathan, I never see you anymore," Trevor grumbled. "What can I get you?" "A beer for me." I said. And a red wine spritzer for Mia. Half wine, half ginger ale. Mia raised an eyebrow, but smiled. Okay, I trust you're not trying to get me drunk. Trevor smirked. Give him time. I grabbed a scratch ticket, won $5, just enough to cover our drinks. Trevor groaned. He's gonna break me. Later, we visited Mia's parents, a warm couple in their 50s. Her father was tall and lean like her, while her mother was shorter and cavia. At one point, I accidentally let my gaze linger too long on her mother's chest. She laughed. Don't feel bad, dear. They've been a distraction my whole life. She winked. Not that my husband complains. Mom, stop, Mia groaned. I'd rather have my figure than your backaches. We left soon after, as the kids were getting tired. Back home, I carried Ethan to bed while Mia tucked in Lily. Once the kids were asleep, I settled on the couch, flipping through channels until I landed on a country music show featuring Dolly Parton. Mia walked in, caught me staring. You're drooling, she teased. What is it with men and bosoms? Mine worked fine for nursing, thank you very much. Later, she returned, smirking. Mom's wondering how I'm going to get you to marry me. She even joked she wished she were single. I laughed. What about your dad? He thinks you're a good guy, but don't let it go to your head. I'm just your housekeeper. You're more than that, I admitted. You've only been here a week, and I already feel more comfortable than I have in years. I hope this stays just the way it is. Her expression shifted, something unreadable, but she said nothing. Was she unsure where this was headed? Or was she hoping for more? For the rest of the week, I was home every evening. Dinner was always ready, and the kids were ecstatic over the new swing set and jungle gym. They dragged me outside, insisting I watch them play. The yard looked pristine, the lawn freshly mowed, flower beds neat and colorful. You've done a lot, I said, genuinely impressed. I have the time, Mia replied with a shrug. You freelance, right? Yeah, she said. I edit articles for magazines. Work comes in waves. Not scrambling for rent has been a relief. After a moment, she hesitated. Will you be home Friday evening? Yes, why? I have a dinner date, she said cautiously. I was hoping you could watch the kids. I should be back by 11. A sharp pang of jealousy hit me out of nowhere. I forced a neutral tone. Of course. I'll order pizza. We'll have a party. You don't mind? She asked softly. Not at all. I lied. That night, I barely slept, blaming it on work stress. Friday evening, I got home early to find Mia dressed to impress. Black dress, styled hair, and, whether it was the cut of the dress or deliberate effort, a noticeable enhancement to her chest. You look great, I said before I could stop myself. I know, she said with a grin. I feel like a queen. Maybe I'll do this more often. As the pizza arrived, so did her date. A man at least 10 years older, polished, well-dressed, with a Mercedes parked outside. Mia looked flustered as she introduced him. Nathan, this is Daniel Montgomery, my boss. He's been very kind to me and occasionally asked me out. I extended a hand. Nathan Cole. Daniel shook it, sizing me up. Mia turned to me. The kids need to be in bed on time. I might be late, so don't wait up. And just like that, she was gone. A strange feeling settled over me. Jealousy mixed with something almost like loss. It was stupid. Jasmine had dated after our split, and I hadn't cared. But this was different. Needing a distraction, I called Laura. Hey, I said. I installed a swing set. Bring Simon and Pearl over sometime. Not tonight, she replied. What's up with you? Not much. Babysitting. For who? The kids belong to my housekeeper. She's on a date. Laura was silent for a second. Then, in a knowing tone, she asked, why aren't you dating your housekeeper? Not happening, I said quickly. Jasmine's dating, isn't she? This isn't about Jasmine. You've always wanted kids, Nathan, she pointed out. These two are great, I admitted. Well-mannered, easygoing. I exhaled. But this isn't about that. She hummed. If you say so. I've got to go, I said, glancing at the clock. It's bath time. Hanging up, I turned to the kids. All right, I said, forcing a smile. Who's ready for bath time? Lily groaned, while Ethan ran for the bathroom, giggling. As I helped them through their routine, I reminded myself, Mia was just my housekeeper. Nothing more. So why did it bother me so much that she was out with another man? They sleep at your house? Laura asked, clearly caught off guard. Mia and Lily share my room. Ethan's in the spare, and I'm in the guest room, I explained. Laura let out a short laugh. You're holding out on me. I need to meet this woman. Fire up the grill tomorrow. We're coming over. All right, 3 o'clock, I agreed. That night, I watched Shrek with the kids. When I tucked Lily in, she clung to me unexpectedly. Nathan, my friend, says her daddy kisses her goodnight. Mommy kisses me, but nobody kisses her. I think she'd like it if you kissed her too. I smiled softly. Maybe, sweetheart. Now get some sleep. I went downstairs to wait for Mia, but midnight rolled around with no sign of her. At 1:30 a.m., I heard the front door open, but I stayed in my room. My mind raced. Was she kissing him goodnight in the car? Did they check into a hotel? It wasn't my place to ask, but I hated how much I wanted to. Saturday morning, I had breakfast at IHOP before heading to the office. Even though it was the weekend, I needed the distraction. At 10 a.m., I called home. Where are you? Mia asked. I wanted to tell you about last night. It was incredible. Had some work to do, I said. How about lunch? My sister-in-law and her family are coming over for a cookout tonight. I'm picking up steaks. You'll need salads, Mia said. We have some ingredients, but grab more beer and 3 quarts of strawberries from the farmer's market. I'll make shortcake. She hesitated. Is your sister-in-law as pretty as your ex? Check the photo album, I said. She's in a beach photo with Mark and the kids. I haven't looked past the pictures of your ex, Mia admitted. When I got home, she had tomato soup and cucumber sandwiches waiting for me. I was hoping you'd be awake when I got home, she said. It wasn't a date, Nathan. It was a celebration dinner for my editing work. I even got an award for dedication. The authors I've worked with thanked me personally, and we had an amazing 5-course meal. It went late, but it was worth it. A mix of relief and embarrassment settled over me. You never said it was a work event. I thought it was a date with your boss. Mia's brows furrowed. You thought that? What? You dressed up, left with a guy in a luxury car, and said you'd be back by 11 but didn't get home until 1:30. I exhaled. Next time, just let me know so I don't worry. Her expression softened. I'm sorry, she said sincerely. I was excited and didn't think about how it might look. Then, her lips twitched. So, you were worried about me? I looked away. Not really. She laughed. I can take care of myself, but that's kind of sweet. To change the subject, I flipped through the photo album. Laura's gorgeous, I commented. But not as gorgeous as you looked last night. Mia's eyes sparkled. You're smooth, she said, shaking her head. I'll marinate the steaks while you clean the grill. As we worked, she smirked. Lily told me you kissed her goodnight. She thought it was wonderful. I wasn't sure if it was appropriate, I admitted. I'd have been disappointed if you didn't, Mia said warmly. She's missed having a father figure, and Ethan clearly looks up to you too. She paused, tilting her head. I think I owe Trevor a kiss for introducing us. I nearly said, what about kissing me? But bit my tongue. That afternoon, Laura and Mia clicked instantly, and soon her kids were at our place more often. Some nights, I came home to just Mia waiting for me. One afternoon, I ran into Jasmine at the grocery store. What was supposed to be a brief conversation stretched into an hour. Nathan, she said, getting to the point. I moved out almost 3 months ago, and I'm happy. I've met someone, and we're talking about moving in together. Is that going to be a problem for you? Not at all, I said, shrugging. My life's settled. You're probably getting more action than I am, but otherwise, I'm doing fine. Jasmine laughed. Laura seems to think you could be getting it from your housekeeper if you wanted. She says Mia likes you. Laura has a big imagination, I said, brushing it off. I'm just glad you found someone. She grinned. Oh, by the way, that raise I promised? It kicks in next week. Plus, I got promoted, so I'll be in my own bed every night now. Too late for me, I said with a smirk. I've moved on. Her expression softened. The best thing you could do is pull that woman into your bedroom. You'd have everything we had in the beginning, without the mess we made of it. I chuckled. Funny how it took us 6 years to realize we weren't right for each other. She smirked. Invite me to the wedding. 3 more months till the divorce is final, I mused. Feels like forever. Take care, Nathan, she said. You know, you were a better husband than I was a wife. As she walked away, I realized something. I didn't miss her at all. That night, I stopped by Trevor Bar for my usual lottery tickets and grabbed a scratch-off. For the first time in months, I didn't win. Not even a couple of bucks. Is my luck finally running out? I muttered. Trevor came over, laughing. All downhill from here, Nathan. How much have you won in the last few months? At least $2,000, maybe more, I admitted. I'll sort it out at tax time. Trevor whistled. Damn fool. I wouldn't declare it all. I grinned. Oops. Forget I said that. He smirked. Go home and tell Mia your streak's breaking. While you're at it, when are you gonna get in bed with her? She needs it as much as you do. Screw you, Trevor. I shot back, shaking my head. Jasmine said the same thing earlier. I muttered to Trevor as I downed the rest of my drink. Trevor smirked. Bring Mia around more often. It's fun ganging up on you. At home, the house was quiet. The kids were staying with Mia's parents, and as I stepped inside, I overheard her talking to her mom in the living room. Nathan is the best thing that's happened to me, Mom, she said softly. I loved my kid's father, but I think I love Nathan more. Her mother said something, and Mia let out a low chuckle. I can't just slip into bed with him. He'd kick me out the moment he woke up. A smile tugged at my lips as I decided to surprise her. Walking in, I slipped my arms around her waist from behind, making her jump. She turned, eyes wide, but I silenced any questions with a deep kiss. The kids are gone tonight, I whispered. Any ideas for how we should spend the evening? She hesitated, then slowly reached for the buttons of her blouse, revealing a silky undergarment underneath. Nathan, she murmured, searching my face. Are you sure? I don't want to be a fling. I'm not asking for forever, but I won't be your plaything either. Then, throwing her hands in the air, she sighed dramatically. Oh, hell. Take me to bed. We'll figure out the rest tomorrow. We didn't make it upstairs right away. The moment overtook us. The next morning, I woke up in her bed, feeling lighter than I had in years. In the kitchen, I made coffee as Mia walked in, stretching as she dropped into a chair. Me too, please, she said with a sleepy smile. After a moment, her expression turned more serious. Do you love me? She asked quietly. I know what you said last night, but it's morning now. I set her cup in front of her and sat down. I do, I said simply. I love you. I love the kids. And I love having you here. I meant it. She smiled, eyes softening. What time do you need to pick up the kids? I asked. In a few minutes, she sighed. Not enough time. Hey, I said, reaching for her hand. We've got the next 50 or 60 years. She grinned. Too bad we can't sleep together tonight. We can, I replied. Laura says the kids can stay with her anytime. Do you mind? Not at all, she said with a smirk. It'll stop Laura from nagging me to make love to you. Mia laughed, then added, by the way, I'm getting a raise starting Monday. That's great, I said. But we're doing fine already. You and the kids haven't been a burden. Not at all, she said. In fact, I'm better off now than when Jasmine left. And there's more. I'll only be traveling for work about once a month now. Her smile brightened the room. The kids will be so happy, she said. They love having you home every night. Honestly, I understand why Jasmine struggled with you being away so much. I hate it when you're gone. The house feels empty. She hesitated before adding, I don't think we should tell the kids we're sleeping together yet. But they'll see how happy I am, and that'll make them happy too. You want me to pick them up this morning? I offered. She shook her head. No, I'll go. I want to tell Mom about last night. I raised an eyebrow. You sure that's a good idea? Absolutely, she said with a grin. As she left, I poured another cup of coffee and flipped on the TV. A news segment caught my attention. Trevor Barr had sold one of the 2 winning tickets for the $3.2 million state lottery. The winners would each get $1.6 million. My heart skipped. Oh, crap. Trevor knew my numbers. Would he keep quiet? Probably, at least until I talked to him. Should I tell Mia? Not yet, especially since I still hadn't mentioned the $25,000 scratch ticket sitting in my safe deposit box. I dumped my coffee and grabbed a beer. By the time Mia and the kids got home, I was on my third. She eyed me. You never drink in the morning. What's going on? Just celebrating, I said. Who's hungry? I'll make cheese omelets. She smirked. Sit down, Nathan. You can scramble the eggs. For some reason, that struck me as hilarious, and I burst out laughing. The kids stared at me like I'd lost my mind. Mia joined in, shaking her head. The mood stayed light the rest of the day. That evening, I stretched and announced, I'm heading to Trevor for a scratch ticket. No beer, I promise. Mia grinned. Have a beer. Celebrate last night and this morning. Just come home early. Maybe I'll let you hold my hand. She had no idea what else I was celebrating. At the bar, the place was packed. Trevor grinned when he saw me. Nathan, you've put my place on the map. Biggest payout this city's ever had, and I sold one of the tickets. Everyone's talking about it. I pulled him aside. Do you have to tell anyone who won? He shook his head. Nope. But people are gonna speculate. Does Mia know? Not yet. And don't tell her, I said. I want to court her properly. Money shouldn't factor into it. Trevor smirked. Hell, Nathan, you don't have to court her. Just take her to bed. That's all she needs. Then his smirk widened. Wait a second. Son of a witch. You already have, haven't you? I scratched my ticket. $2. Feeling smug, I headed home without beer on my breath. Life settled into a routine. The kids went to school, Mia's freelance work picked up, and my job gave me more responsibility. I was home nearly every night, and we were all better for it. On my 40th birthday, Jasmine stopped by to introduce her boyfriend, Matthew Carter. He worked in construction, not the kind of career I'd ever imagined appealing to Jasmine. But the way they looked at each other? They were smitten. At the party, rumors started swirling that Mia and I were more than just housemates. I had a strong suspicion Mia's mother had something to do with it. When Jasmine was leaving, she paused. Your housekeeper's kids are delightful. Honestly, I wouldn't have pictured you and Mia together, but you both look happy. Is this serious? It is, I admitted. Living in the city and coming home every night brought us closer. We understand why you left, and I'm genuinely happy for you and Matthew. She smiled. All right, that secures you an invite to our wedding. Everything was going smoothly until a work trip stirred up unexpected trouble. My secretary, Olivia, a strikingly attractive woman, had to come along. In the chaos of prepping for the trip, I asked her to stop by my place to grab my luggage. That one errand set Mia off. I didn't realize it at first, but when I got back 2 days later, her cold demeanor and sharp tone made it painfully clear. Later that night, when the kids were asleep, I knocked softly on her bedroom door. Mia's voice was ice cold when she opened her door. What do you need? I stepped closer. I need you, I said simply. You're upset. I've been gone for 2 days, and I missed you. Then kiss me and leave me alone, she snapped. I'm tired. I sighed, running a hand through my hair. Mia, I love you. Tell me what's wrong so I can make it right. You think I wouldn't care that you went off with a young, gorgeous woman who practically uses flirtation? She shot back. I blinked. Wait, where's this coming from? Olivia told me you had connecting rooms, she said bitterly. Yes, we did, I admitted. But do you remember when you went out with your boss, and I jumped to all the wrong conclusions? This is no different. I understand how you feel, unsure, hurt. But it's not what you think. I reached for her hand, pulling her gently toward my room. Slowly, I started undressing, letting my actions speak louder than words. Mia hesitated before letting me slip her blouse off. Nathan, she whispered. Don't lie to me. Please. I cupped her face. I wouldn't. But let me tell you something about Olivia. Her brow furrowed. What? I smirked. I should have been more worried about her meeting you than the other way around. It took her a second. Then her expression shifted. Wait, are you serious? Completely, I said. When we started working together, Olivia confided in me. She's attracted to women. She even asked if I'd have an issue with it. I told her I didn't, as long as she kept things professional. But to deflect attention from the women she is interested in, she plays the part of a flirt with men. Mia's posture relaxed slightly, though some doubt remained. I've even met her girlfriend, Emma, I added. She's as stunning as Olivia. Emma works in another department. To my knowledge, I'm the only one who knows about them. You're saying nothing happened? I smiled. Nothing happened. I worked late after meetings. That's all. She exhaled slowly. I let jealousy get the best of me. Yeah, but I get it, I said. Those 2 days were miserable for me too. Mia softened, then smiled. Set your alarm, she murmured. I plan to keep you here all night. We planned the wedding for the last Saturday in November, a cozy 10 a.m. ceremony at Trevor Bar. Trevor, ever generous, let us use the space for the reception until 4 p.m. Laura was matron of honor, with Lily and Pearl as her attendants. Trevor stood beside me as best man, joined by Ethan and Simon. It was intimate, warm, and perfect. Mia's parents, my small family, and a few of her colleagues made up most of the guest list. Her boss and his wife found it hilarious that I'd once been jealous of him. Jasmine RSVP'd with a note, revealing that she and Matthew had already tied the knot at City Hall 2 days prior. So much for the wedding invite she once promised us. One of the biggest surprises was discovering how much Mia and I both loved polka. After some practice, we found dancing wasn't just fun, it was ours, something we shared that brought us even closer. At the reception, Olivia and Emma were indulging in drinks, with Olivia as playfully flirtatious as ever. She intercepted me on my way back from the restroom. Nathan, she said with a mischievous grin. Dance with me. I need your advice. By the time we reached the floor, the band had started playing a waltz. Olivia, a little tipsy, leaned into me as we moved. What's on your mind, Olivia? I asked. Emma thinks it's time for me to come out, she blurted. She wants me to make it public. Would it ruin your wedding if I used a toast to make the announcement? Not at all, I assured her. But you know once it's out there, there's no going back. I know, she said, her voice steady. We're heading to Massachusetts over New Year's to get married, so people might as well know now. Then grab Emma and meet me at the head table, I told her. I clinked my knife against my glass, and the room quieted. Standing between Olivia and Emma, I cleared my throat. Ladies and gentlemen, I began. As many of you know, Olivia has long been the heartbreaker of our office, the one everyone secretly hoped to win over. I smirked. Well, she's finally chosen her partner, which means the rest of us can give up our fantasies. Today, I'm thrilled to share that she's officially engaged. I stepped back. Olivia, care to show everyone who you love? The room fell silent as Olivia turned to Emma and kissed her. For a beat, nothing. Then applause erupted. Someone muttered, "What a waste," but it was drowned out by cheers and congratulations. Grinning, I said, "Congrats. Now how about a hug?" Olivia laughed and hugged me tightly, kissing my cheek. Mia joined in, embracing both of them as I turned to Emma. Soon, a line of well-wishers formed, surrounding the couple with love and support. Later that evening, after a few more dances, I turned to Mia and whispered, "Time to wrap this up?" She smiled, looping her arms around my neck. "Only if we get one more dance." And in that moment, surrounded by family and friends, I knew this was exactly where I was meant to be. "We've got 6 whole days of honeymoon ahead," I said, wrapping my arms around Mia as we left the reception. Before we could go, Jasmine approached, sharing a warm exchange with Mia. Then she turned to me with a smirk. "One last dance, ex-husband?" "Why not?" I said, taking her hand. As we moved to the music, she sighed. "I've been meaning to tell you, leaving you is the best thing for both of us. You seem genuinely happy, and so am I. But I'll admit, when I first met Mia, I felt sorry for you." I raised an eyebrow. "Oh, I thought she wasn't much to look at," Jasmine admitted. "But I was so wrong. She's radiant. Lucas even says she's a better dancer than I ever was." She winked. "From one ex to another, she's perfect for you." "Thanks, Jasmine," I said sincerely. "I wish you the best." "Friends?" she asked. "Always." On our way out of Trevor's, I grabbed a scratch ticket. It won me $5. A fitting end to a perfect day. Life with Mia. Married life with Mia was better than anything I had known. She treated me with respect and warmth, things I hadn't fully appreciated were missing before. When Olivia and Emma returned from their wedding, they were beaming. The office missed Olivia's usual antics, but everyone was happy for her. That said, she struggled a bit with not being the center of attention anymore. She and Emma spent a lot of time with Mia, which made Mia a little uneasy at first. "They're just adjusting," I reassured her. "Being open about their relationship is new for them, and they're leaning on us for support. It'll balance out soon." Mia sighed, then nodded. "You're probably right." One evening, I decided it was time to share something I'd kept to myself for too long. Sitting beside Mia on the couch, I took her hand. "You've been handling our finances since we got married," I began. "How much do you think we're worth?" She tilted her head, then retrieved her accounting journal. "We started the year with this," she said, pointing to a column. "By February, we were here, and if my projections are right, we'll end the year at this amount." I leaned back with a grin. "Add $80,000 to that." Her brows knitted in confusion. "What are you talking about? Remember when Trevor sold a lottery ticket that no one claimed?" I asked. "I have that ticket. It's in the bank, and tomorrow, we're cashing it in." Mia's mouth fell open. "Are you serious? Why didn't you tell me?" "I didn't want to complicate things," I admitted. "When I won, I was still figuring things out with you. And I didn't want Jasmine thinking she had a claim on it since our divorce wasn't finalized at the time." Her eyes widened. "How much is it worth?" $80,000 a year for 20 years. Minus taxes, of course. She let out a whistle. "That's a lot of money." "It won't change me," I said. "I love my work. I love the life we've built." "Same here," she agreed. "But I won't lie, I'm excited." "Get ready for attention," I warned. "Your picture in the paper, reporters, charities, distant relatives coming out of the woodwork." She laughed. "No wonder you kept quiet." Then she grinned. "Winning must have given you courage that night." I smirked. "Might have helped." A month later, the excitement faded, and life returned to normal. Still, I kept buying scratch-offs and Powerball tickets. Why bother? Mia teased. Lightning doesn't strike twice. Scratch tickets almost pay for themselves, I said. Feels like bad luck to stop. Paying it forward. Life was good. The house was cozy, and our neighborhood was perfect. Family gatherings became a monthly tradition. Even Jasmine visited occasionally, keeping things friendly. Then Laura shared unexpected news. Jasmine and Matthew were expecting, but Matthew had been injured in a fall and couldn't work. The neighborhood rallied to organize a baby shower, with many including scratch tickets as gifts. That sparked something in me. I remembered the $25,000 winning ticket I had tucked away, uncashed since before Mia and I got together. That evening, I decided to bring it up. Mia, there's something I need to tell you, I said, hesitating. She put down her tea. Sounds serious. It's about money. And Jasmine. Her brow lifted. Go on. The night Jasmine asked for a divorce, I bought a scratch ticket. It won $25,000, but I never cashed it. It expires in 2 months. Mia tilted her head, considering. Do you want Jasmine to know it's from you? Not at all, I said firmly. That's why I'm giving it to you. You decide what to do with it. She smiled warmly. Go get it. And grab 5 fresh tickets from Trevor. I'll include them all in an envelope for the shower. Jasmine would never suspect a thing. The baby shower was a success. That evening, Mia returned glowing. Jasmine cried, she said, shaking her head. At first, she didn't understand the scratch tickets. But when we cashed them at Trevor's, the total was $27,304. That'll keep them afloat until Matthew can work again. No one suspects you. Then her eyes sparkled. I have my own news. I raised an eyebrow. What is it? She took my hands, her smile radiating pure happiness. I took a pregnancy test this morning. It's positive. Joy crashed over me like a wave. I pulled her into my arms, holding her close. Later that night, as we stepped out of the shower, Mia casually tossed one last bombshell at me. Oh, by the way, she said, drying her hair. Trevor said to check the Powerball numbers tonight. Apparently, it's a $275 million jackpot. I froze. Where's your ticket? She asked. My pulse thundered in my ears. Was it possible? Could lightning actually strike twice?